Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. I'm joined once again by Steve as we continue our look into the Hammer Horror Films franchise with The Revenge of Frankenstein. Released in 1958, this film tells of Baron Frankenstein, who, having escaped execution, assumes an alias and continues his experiments. And unfortunately, no box office data for this one. They decided to hide it.
It must have done well because they made several other Frankensteins afterwards, didn't they?
Yeah,
Directed by Terence Fisher. So
I don't see it doing badly, but I don't think it's that they were hiding the data. It's just they don't have the mechanisms back then to like record it the way they do now.
yeah.
So it's always hit and miss. That with some films it was easier to tell than others for some reason. But they know if something's a success or not because in the end the money comes in.
Yeah. I mean, just the thing of Hammer Horror being there and continuing over the years, they're going to have ups and downs, I know, but they continued, didn't they? So,
Oh yeah, this was a staple. At the end of the day, this was the standard.
people must have loved horror back then. So,
It's a strange world we live in. That these. I remember we've talked about this lots of times. These were matinees. They weren't
yeah,
even late night. They were matinee shows, and even for back then, it was still horror. It wasn't as if it was, you know, like not Blumhouse, James Wan stuff, which is
yeah,
really, really tame.
yeah.
It's not like that. It was proper horror, and proper horror ideas, and they didn't shy away from the gore.
No.
You have body parts and all sorts getting chopped up and stuff happening here.
Yeah.
They didn't mess about, but these were matinees and people accepted it and went and enjoyed them. And then something happened. And I think it was the satanic panic of the 80s that really changed people's attitude of, oh, that icky horror. Oh, they're coming for our children. Oh, and it's somehow stayed.
Yeah.
And
The PC movement, wasn't it? It's, I think, it's like I said before, in 1958, it was quite new for, body parts. I know we had the old Boris Karloff one, but, it's
I don't
sort of,
think it was as graphic as this. This is more graphic.
yeah, it sort of brought it in, especially with the color, the invention of the color on the televisions and everything, and cinemas, and I think this is where people became interested. So,
But that's the thing as well. They've never stopped making horror movies. There's plethora and there's more horror movies that we'll watch in 10 lifetimes.
yeah,
It seems like another 10 spring up every time you think you've got caught up. There's another 10 movies you haven't heard of. So it's never went away, but it's always. And I don't think even back then it wasn't thumbed its nose down, but at some point it became the cool thing to look down your nose at horror. And, people stuck their nose up and went, ew, I would watch that stuff. Ew, I get it today. It's hard to contemplate when we're all talking because we're all the same mind. But when you come across normies and you just mention that you like horror movies, the proper freak out. I couldn't watch one of those. And you're like,
I get it with the books. I when I say, oh, I'm an author. Oh, what sort of stuff do you write? Oh, horror thrillers. Oh, no, I'm more of a Mills and Boone person.
What a pointless existence.
I actually got asked back along if I write love stories. So I thought, yeah, I could just see it now.
Well, you've had a few relationships in your books.
Yeah, but
and you've had love there. Yeah, broken people at the end of the day because the damage has been done to them. They can't really love, but there's been attempts and there's been human connections made.
Yeah.
That has maybe steered someone. It's why they felt regret.
But if I'd done just a love story, someone would have to die.
Yeah,
bit like Love Story, you know, the film in what was it 70, 72 something?
Could you picture your spend your time doing that?
No.
Like, let's be honest, it's copy and paste. Well, tell me a thrilling love story.
A thrilling love story. Oh,
One that's really had you invested and not just going.
I've never watched love stories like that. I think Love Story, the actual film Love Story, was the first one I saw, and that's because the family was sat down watching it.
Well, let's say the most famous love story, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, never watched it.
No, I mean, well, read it.
I read the book at school because it was
Yeah,
part
I don't mean just film. I just mean in general.
yeah,
You know, most famous love story, Romeo and Juliet. They both die.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's considered like the best love story told, and it's basically two petulant teenagers acting out, and then they kill themselves because they're dumb. And there's even another, you know what I mean? There's duels and there's murder in it and all sorts. You know.
Yeah.
But your Mills and Boone type, it's always
anyone could write for Mills and Boone. You
yeah.
could, you know, they used to actually ask for people to write stories and send them in. You know, and yeah, anyone could do it, but it was a big thing. People used to.
My mum read them.
Yeah, you know, my sister used to read them, because she gave us a great big pile of them to sell at the car boot sale that me and the brother-in-law were going to once, and bloody huge bag full. And we were selling them for 10p each, you know. So, yeah.
No, there were absolute tons. Like fair play to them. They made, you know what I mean, they made their money.
Yeah.
And there's money in it, but at the same time,
it was all fantasy, wasn't it? You know, it was all what people wanted to happen in their lives. I felt, you know, and a lot of them were like, oh, you know, lovey-dovey. Oh, I want to marry this doctor who's going to treat me well, and you know, it's all things like that. But,
yeah, bored housewife. You know, that was your that was your audience for those books. But at the same time, yeah, I don't appreciate the genre. I don't think much of it. But I'm not going to be like, oh, you read that. Oh, you know, first of all, you're reading. Fair play. You're doing better than most. It's your thing. I just don't like the fact that people think they're better than you because they don't watch your, you know, they don't get what you get into. I understand horror is not for everybody, and I don't want it to be for everybody because that'll dilute it. You know, but the fact that it was socially acceptable when these come out, and the fact that it's not, and this was a more like the 1950s, apart from the Victorian era, which, to be honest, was really strict in one sense, but in the other, as we've seen with accounts, was also one of the most deviant times in history.
yeah,
Like anything went behind closed doors, you know, as long as it was kept out of the public eye.
yeah,
Anything went. In fact, I would say they were more open about a lot of things than they are today. But the 1950s is categorically one of the most conservative, repressed. What would you say? You know what I mean? It was straight laced times in history.
I think, you know, it was something that people wanted to pick up because, you know, after the Second World War, and I think people were looking forward, you know, to getting the you know, especially in Britain, getting it back to normal and ensuring that there was, you know, more to life than fighting. And I think that, you know, British cinema back in the 50s when it started was you know, it was a new sort of push, because you had it with all the sort of stuff from you know, the 30s, the horror films back there, The Mummy and Frankenstein. Suddenly it had to take a rest, and then brought it back in they got things together, and then the 50s they were trying new things. For instance, you had the stop motion, didn't you, with Ray Harryhausen in the fantasy movies, and you suddenly had this Christopher Lee as a more powerful Dracula, because they were dipping their sort of feet into new realms of pushing how far they could go to scare you. And I think that's where it went. They were testing things, but
Yeah, but the fact that people enjoyed it, lapped it up, and they went during the day, but now it's like some dirty thing you have to be ashamed of, and the horror movies are only shown it last thing at night, because normal people, horror fans don't come out during the day, and they aren't normal people, they don't
oh yeah,
they don't have families and jobs and lives, they all live in caves and come out.
cinemas, they schedule them for after 8 o'clock, don't they? You get one or two showings. In fact, I'm trying to think what horror film it was me and my son went to see, and we had to see it at 11 o'clock at night, because that was the only time they were showing it. Can't remember what it was, but we had to go to the cinema at like 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, but, if you take Hereditary, the Plymouth cinema where we saw it was only showing it after 8 o'clock in the evening, but they were showing in several different screens. They'd show it like 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, but in several different screens. But it was like being on the watershed on television.
Yeah.
Can't possibly show that before 8 o'clock in the evening.
Because they don't check your tickets or age, right? You know what I mean? It's daft. And it's become, and it is the PC brigade that have caused this, and it's the non-intentional effect of just stupidity.
Yeah.
Oh, if it's during the day, then people might sneak their kids in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
it's you get the sort of the 14-year-olds who try to push their luck, don't you? 18.
I was one of them back in the day.
I was, we tried to sneak in to see Poltergeist, the original Steven Spielberg one, and it was me and Adrian, a lad called Adrian, and we tried to sneak in, but the woman behind the counter in the Drake Cinema always knew that we tried to do it for different films, and she never let us in, but we managed to get in for Poltergeist, and but it's around sort of 14 age, you try to push your luck, don't you? I'm not sure.
You always did it, or you bought a ticket for another movie that you weren't really interested in.
Yeah, and
but you'd watch it if you had to, and then you sneaked in across. You know what I mean?
Or you bought the ticket, worked out the times, thinking, that one's going to end then. Oh, right, over to screen 7, because we can watch another one then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what? The world didn't fall apart.
No.
It's funny with all this protection everyone has, everyone's more miserable than ever. I just find it hilarious. Like, people are more depressed, they're more anxious. There's more mental health conditions going about untreated, and people suffering from them. Just people are generally unhappier, yet they're more protected than ever. There's got to be something in that.
It's like a thing that goes around on social media, isn't it? About the back in the 1940s, you had youngsters going to war and shooting people. In the 1960s, you had all the hippie, and people were all happy, and then suddenly in the 2020s, you hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, I just watched it at the weekend there, Peter Jackson's For They Shall Not Grow Old.
Yeah.
And the whole there's kids at 13, 14, like, sneaking in to join up because they felt it was something they had to do. And there's sort of a blasé attitude to it. What age are you? 17? Well, son, I suggest you go outside and have a birthday and come back in. That was sort of the attitude of the day. But nobody felt exploited, if that makes sense.
No, I think there are some good things, like in the 70s, kids were called thick if they didn't get something, and of course now they've realised that there are certain medical conditions that can be attached to kids not understanding. But even then, I think some are just pulling a fast one, and they're just
Laziness as well,
brats.
and shame works sometimes.
I'll get knocked for this. They're just brats.
Yeah. No, but it's this bratty culture that's sort of grown up, and it is linked to horror, believe it or not, because the more people shy away from the horror of, even the idea of horrors imagined, that and become so mollycoddled that real life, and that's what these things did. If you think of the surgeries that have become possible because of the spark of imagination, like Frankenstein's story alone,
Yeah.
like would transplants happen today?
Well,
If the spark imagination, somebody hadn't thought, is this possible?
yeah. Well,
The very idea was.
yeah. I mean, they started doing heart transplants, didn't they? And wasn't there something about hand? Didn't they start doing a hand transplant or something?
Yeah, they're just, somebody sparked the imagination, and it's these films that do it.
Yeah. I mean, they do liver and kidneys and from people, and even down as far really as blood transfusion. I mean, who thought of it, and who realised that there was different types of bloods? It's because they were putting blood into someone, and that person was dying because it was the wrong blood group. How did they find that out?
Yeah, but that's people write off art, and they think as well to appreciate art or to even be artistic, you have to be some airy fairy artsy fartsy type. Oh, darling, and you have to be a caricature of a person. And that's something I always want to challenge here because I'm sick of it. You do have those sort of people, and they're more fashionistas than anything else. They're fitting in with the crowd. They act like that. There's some people genuine, that's their personality.
Yeah.
There's people who are artistically, have become artistic, trying to deal with trauma. There's people. I was watching one actually, a veteran who, discovered art after, not because when he got PTSD, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't even recognized to be diagnosed.
No.
People were still going off the idea of shell shock. So somebody that never thought in their life they'd be artistic became artistic, and they didn't all of a sudden transform into, a bead wearing, oh darling type. I just hate that because it restricts. It's like closing the door.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're not allowed to do this. Only we are.
Yeah.
And it does annoy me.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this horror is just one of those things that it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be new aspects as well as the reinvented ones. But they do try to push it a bit with sequels, and if you take, I know it's not a horror as such, but Twisters. The studio are really kicking in that Twisters is in no way a sequel to Twister. Now why they're doing this, I don't know. But they're saying it's a new chapter. It's not a sequel. And I was reading up on it today, and I thought, well, why call it Twisters then? Why have the same sort of area of trying to get the the machine to go up in the middle of the tornado, but I can't look at tornado movies in the same light since Sharknado. we were actually
We're doing Sharknado. Chris and I are doing Sharknado 2 next week, and oh my god.
I love the Sharknado films. You should have had me on those. Yeah, but
well,
Cole just sat there when we were watching it, and he was laughing his head off at these sharks coming and biting heads off, and
it's just so ridiculous.
Going at him with a baseball bat. What chance would you have if this shark was flying at you?
And plus the moment, you know what I mean? You're not batting that thing away if it's what's a shark, about half a ton at least. One of the smaller ones. Great white, I think, hits up to 2 ton at some time. Like they can be the size of an elephant.
The original Sharknado is a cult film. It's got cult status, and I know they made 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
6. There's 6 of them.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're doing them.
You can guess what happens in more or less each one. Yeah. Oh, no.
You know what I thought that was? I thought that was a good idea. I thought it'd be a laugh, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I doing with my life? But it's fun to do. But yeah, back to this one. This is a sequel. You know what I mean? It's
because it carries on, doesn't it? Because the last scene in the first one that we looked at, showed the guillotine going down. You didn't actually see him die, because we discussed this offline, didn't we? And we said you didn't actually see him die, and then the question come up. Well, there's a sequel, so he couldn't have died.
How do you get out of it?
You didn't know how he lived, and of course he had his mate. They say in the notes he was a dwarf. He didn't look like a dwarf to me. But
no, he just it was almost like he had CP. Form of cerebral palsy.
But
I don't know, and also. Was he the executioner? Was he, because they take it right up to Peter Cushing being laid out.
Yeah.
Was he the executioner? We don't see. Oh god, I've forgotten his name now. Is it Henry? Oh my god.
The priest.
No, his assistant.
Oscar. It's a dwarf. It just says dwarf in the notes. Not patient. Yeah.
God, this is good. Good drills for me. Carl, sorry, my apologies. Carl.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like his Hans was the assistant.
Yeah. But here's a bit of thing for you. You know the new Carl. The sort of monster,
the good looking monster, because
Michael Gwynn. He actually played Lord Melbury in the very first episode of Fawlty Towers.
There you go.
So I recognised him. I thought, I know that guy, because I'm a big Fawlty Towers fan, and I know him. And then it was Lord Melbury. Class. But he's got quite a large career of appearing in television. Again, bit parts really.
Yeah, it's a job actor, career actor.
But he was brilliant in Fawlty Towers. But so that was that. You got Charles Lloyd Pack again, who seems to appear in quite a lot of Terence Fisher's horror films. Roger Lloyd Pack's father from Only Fools and Horses, Roger, and if you look, Roger Lloyd Pack appears. He appeared in the last one that we reviewed, and the one before that, I think. You got Lionel Jeffries in this one, who he was in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. He's got quite a varied career as well. He was the scoundrel Fritz.
Yep.
The one who died on the heart attack. Oh, that was just.
Oh my god, that was the most dramatic heart attack ever.
Heart attack. Oh. Yeah.
Which makes me wonder that why did they not find two bodies later on?
Yeah, that's right. And what did they do with Fritz, the Lionel Jeff?
You've got a grave, use the grave. So
Yeah,
just, or did he end up in the soup?
yeah. And when they beheaded the priest, wouldn't someone have noticed that they were a priest down?
Yeah,
You know,
I thought those guys were kind of, especially working for the uh, visiting the gallows, etc. They kind of be missed.
and those things were quite attended by the public, weren't they? Those
Yeah, this was like a
beheadings.
secret
Yeah,
execution.
yeah,
Surely something like that would have been, the
yeah,
frightening Baron has finally been caught, and the peasants would have loved it. One of the aristocracy being taken down.
yeah.
I just love the fact as well. This is supposed to be middle of Europe, right about Switzerland, and everyone's like received pronunciation.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant.
No hint of an accent. It's like, no, we don't give a shit.
No, no. Well, but we do in this day and age because what was the I was watching the boy in the striped pajamas,
Oh yeah,
and all the Germans were speaking with a total posh English accent. You know, it sort of got me, and I thought, I don't want to
the
watch it
book's
now.
better because every time the wee lad keeps saying out with,
Yeah,
it takes a minute to realize what he's actually saying, even before the sister reveals it.
mm,
And they didn't really do that in the film,
no,
which I think was a bit annoying because that was the whole point of him seeing things completely through child's eyes, not
yeah,
understanding what's going on around him.
yeah,
And I
that's,
think that was a bit lost.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, in this, but no one seemed to care that I think people were just going to see a Frankenstein film. They didn't
Hmm.
care if the Swiss people or whatever were speaking totally pure English,
And
and
it doesn't matter how they crossed the
you
border,
can't
nobody changed accents or languages.
you can't get a more well-spoken actor than Peter Cushing. Can you? You just hear his voice, and every word is distinguished really, and you can tell. And even I know Christopher Lee isn't in this one, but when Christopher Lee's in a film, Dracula, you can hear his every word.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's very distinguished with his speech. But
That's a
yeah,
good one. I don't have that anymore. Such a
no,
shame.
no. Well, we've said this about Cushing and Lee
Oh yeah,
before.
they were worlds apart. They were unique
Yeah,
individuals, especially Christopher Lee. Like when you look at his history,
yeah,
and he did acting as later on in life. I think he was nearly 40 before he even started,
yeah,
and he didn't have to do it. He had already a distinguished career.
yeah, yeah,
SIS operative,
yeah,
uh, one of the first secret services, distinguished career there. He didn't have to do anything the rest of his life. He was made, but he
mm,
wanted to be an actor.
yeah, mm,
Didn't have to, and he applied that same resolute sort of wanting to be, you know, if you're going to do something, do it the best you can.
mm,
And he
yeah,
applied that philosophy to it. And especially when you hear him talking in later life, some of his later interviews, this was like the 90s, early 2000s when he was looking at the current, what we have now as Hollywood, and he's saying they're in it for the wrong reasons.
yeah, yeah,
And even he called it back then. He's like, don't be doing this. You're not going to last long term. And sure enough, they're disposable. You can't, they're so interchangeable now, the actors and actresses.
yeah,
They've no future because they're only there as long as they're roided up enough and young and pretty enough. And
yeah.
then that they've a
Just
couple of years shelf life and then they're out. 10 years at most,
yeah.
if they're really lucky. But
There are very, very few actors these days that take on the sort of B movie roles, even though they could be earning big bucks doing A movies.
Yeah, well, Cameron and I were talking about this yesterday because we were reviewing Hatchet 2.
Yeah,
And they were a bunch of horror actors all together. And really, at that stage of their careers, they were making more money going to conventions than they would have been acting in the movie. But it's a slasher, but at the same time, there's more to it because you could tell that they really wanted to make a good movie and they
yeah,
were doing it for the love. And that's sort of the last group of people. Because even in the horror genre, you don't have the actors now.
no,
Robert Englund's well on. Kane Hodder's in his 70s now. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. They're all getting on,
Tony
aren't
Todd's, he's flipping 70 something. You know what I mean?
they? Yeah,
You've all these actors of even that era that, like the 80s, 90s that made, really made an impact on the horror genre. They're aging out and there's nobody coming up to replace them
no,
because nobody cares.
no. But again, it was a different age because, like we said, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, they acted until their very last minutes. Christopher Lee was in Lord of the Rings, wasn't he? And if you look at Clint Eastwood, he's 93, I think
He's
it
still
was,
directing.
and he's still directing. Well,
His last movie was about 2-3 years ago.
yeah.
Was it The Mule or was it something else he did after?
Gene Hackman's 92. We're going to be losing quite a lot of really good actors all in around the same time.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, Gene Hackman, probably a lot more. And
Michael Caine's going to hurt when he goes.
yeah,
He's 91 now, 92.
I loved his film, Harry
Oh, Harry Brown.
Brown, and I thought that was a brilliant film. But he's another one. He'll star in something brilliant, and then he'll do like something that's not well known. Because
Do you know the only actress out now who's actually doing that? Or sorry, two. I'll say one. Nicolas Cage.
yeah,
He do anything.
yeah,
But the only young actress at the moment that'll do a B movie as well as big thing is Sydney Sweeney.
right, yeah,
Because she was in a reviewed Immaculate and she was in God, was it a John Carpenter one? And she's been in a couple of B movies as well as the mainstream sort of superhero stuff.
yeah, yeah,
That's the only actress I know who's doing that.
yeah.
Because what's her face? Jenna Ortega. She's only doing the A-list stuff now. She's moved into the A-list, so she's not looking back,
Yeah.
And that's we don't have that caliber anymore.
No.
The blokes are just, I don't know.
I think as well,
Apart from Nicolas Cage, like I said, I don't know any of the male actors that are prepared to do that.
there's an awful lot of jobbing actors, in Hollywood now, and most of them work in catering establishments, don't they, in their spare time?
So do the writers now. They really didn't do themselves any favors.
No. But, yeah, old Frankenstein. I mean, I thought this was, even though the story was, you knew what was coming because Frankenstein creates monsters.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different take on it, wasn't it? It's, he actually had the sort of monster, in effect, was quite good looking to start.
Yeah, and that was the idea they were playing with.
Yeah.
It's more than just the physical, and it sort of hinted at it's the mental. The brain is the center of the universe.
Yeah. So that was the sort of new take on because in the original, if you take the Boris Karloff style of Frankenstein, with the bolts in the neck and stuff, he was quite a ugly type of creature. But
the previous one to this, the Curse of Frankenstein, Christopher Lee was,
he was called The Monster, wasn't he? But this one is he come on and he was actually quite good looking for a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until the fact that he got smacked by that caretaker guy, wasn't it? Whoever he was.
Oh my god, talk about downgrading. Like, Carl was competent and loyal and articulate,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're playing with the idea. Yeah, it's still playing the, like the pianist's fingers. Well, it's not the fingers; it's the muscle memory. It's the brain that
Yeah,
makes it. So he's got the best of the best on this, this body.
yeah, yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's your mind. And there's a
Mm.
wee bit of social commentary in this as well, about that, of it's not what you're handed, it's what you do with it. It's all about your will, and if you have a talent, that's what's going to come through. It's not to do with your physical attributes.
No, it's your brain.
It does play, obviously it plays a part, because if you're like built like me, I tried rock climbing. I'm not going to be like a competitive rock climber, never was, because I'm not built for it.
No.
But stick a rugby ball in my hand and I hold my own with like people 3 times my size. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's
Right, yeah.
So there is a bit of it, but also you're not limited.
Yeah. He's. I just thought the new take on this was because I suppose if they had done the same, just a sequel that had the same story with the same type of monster, that's what it would have been. It would have been more or less a remake.
Which they did in the 30s. The Universal monsters did that.
Yeah,
The Universal monsters were very repetitive.
yeah, yeah.
Where I think Hammer, they tried to put a bit of thought behind it. Because with a bit of, like I said, we do have a bit of social commentary. That's like the medical profession at the time.
Yeah.
And how it was a complete racket.
Did you see all the doctors? He won't join our group. Let's send someone to, and then one of their own who they send as one of the three of the party that goes to tell him off, joins him.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
But it was actually a commentary on, and believe it or not, the medical profession today is no different. I'd say it's worse.
Oh, they'd probably do exactly the same thing in real life.
But they put a false veneer on it, and yeah, I have no respect for them. I really don't.
I thought the funny one was, he's nicked half my patients. Yeah, he's nicked half mine. Hasn't he nicked your wife? Yes, but I've paid to that. It reminded me very much about that Nationwide advert where the bloke stood up and he goes, yes, we're closing this branch. We're closing this branch. What are Nationwide doing? Isn't that your wife? What's she doing outside that bank? Why isn't she at mine?
Yeah. No, but that was it. It's just the arrogance. And you're kind of like, oh, God. Yeah, things don't change. But if you think about it, even back in tribal society, the witch doctor, the shaman, the healer always gets exalted.
Yeah.
And then they use that power, and it's no different today because people get sick, they want to be healed, and they'll always look to someone and they'll think somehow they're caring. They associate with somebody with the ability to heal with somebody being caring, and I think 9 times out of 10 it's not the case. I know there's an aspect of it needs to be the case. You need to have that switch, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the capacity for it. I've just, because I don't like people, outside of my circle, I don't like people, so I couldn't sit and be. I was medically trained, and honestly, just the thought of some of the arseholes trying to get off duties and stuff, I just couldn't do it. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I couldn't put that fake smile, so I'm not psychopathic enough to be that. And I don't mean psychotic, I mean psychopathic tendencies tend to be useful for those sort of professions.
Yeah.
Did you have that off switch?
Mm.
But these people are just, they're horrendous. And Frankenstein's obviously a bigger monster than the rest of them put together because he volunteers at the poor hospital.
Yeah.
But they're just material for him.
Oh yeah, he's got an alternative motive, hasn't he? he's there thinking, yeah, I want your arm. And I like in his lab when he was explaining about he had the eyes, didn't he, in one tank and
Yep.
an arm in the other, and showing him the fire and everything. It's look what happens when I stick this.
Yeah, and that was and if you think that technically that's somebody still alive, because I have the brain there too in another tank.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
connected up. And obviously he's describing the autonomic nervous system, but people didn't know that back then.
no, no,
And that is actually based in medical fact. Like, if you think of some of the crap that comes out today that they can't even string that together, this was based in more medical fact. Like,
yeah,
that's doable.
yeah. Well,
You look an expert. You can
brain,
wear, the
brains
old
and
goldfish one. Have you ever done that
no,
in biology? So you cut off the top of the head of the goldfish. You put the electrodes in, and you can actually make it move
yeah. All right.
by applying the current.
No, didn't know that.
Yeah, you stick a bit of cork.
I know snakes regrow, don't they? If you cut them in half. Did you ever do that?
Snakes? No, it's worms.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Worms? Snakes don't. You kill the
Oh,
snake.
sorry. Yeah, it would be. We used to slow worms.
Slow worms, yeah.
Yeah, they snake slow worms. Yeah, slow worms. Yeah, they used to regrow, didn't they? Yeah,
That's because they're close to a single cell organism. They're just they're like a next step up from an amoeba.
yeah. But in today's day and age, that's what again they're trying to do, aren't they? Is trying to make body parts regrow, and
Should have been
testing.
doing that since the 80s. You're growing ears on the back of rats and stuff.
Of course, they got the 3D printer now, more or less, because one of my teeth was actually done on one of their 3D things.
Mm-hmm.
One of my main teeth came out, and he says, "Oh, it's got to be replaced," because it's one of the main ones. And he took all the like X-rays and stuff like that, photos of it, went into this machine, and it produced a tooth. Exactly the same as the one that he took out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's amazing how they've done it. But
I don't have the space. I'd love to get 3D printers. I'd love to get the whole set with the curing and all, but I just don't
yeah,
have the space for it. And I don't like clutter. So I'm not somebody that'll buy a load of stuff to have it stacked up and then to move it. I like to have somewhere with a space that doesn't move.
yeah,
I just can't cope. Like if I didn't have this space, I wouldn't be podcasting, because if I had to like pull out a computer and move it somewhere every time, I just wouldn't do it because it would just drive me nuts.
yeah.
I don't like things. I like everything to have its place and not move. But yeah, sure, that all came from horror and science fiction and movies. Exosuits, that's always been a thing, and scanning and things like Tron,
Oh yeah,
all sorts of movies like that is what fired the imagination. People don't get these ideas unless their imagination's healthy.
no,
Yeah, a lot of the actual day-to-day grind is stuffy and repeat by rote, but the innovators are the ones that get imagination. And when you destroy art, when you destroy imagination, which is what's happening now, because people are afraid to speak or say anything or write something down in case it get jumped on. And it's that exercising of thought that,
yeah,
like, yeah, you'll get 100 fluffs, but you'll get that one success, or you'll get that one piece of innovation, or that one idea that will germinate, and you don't know what direction it will go. Look at prosthetics.
yeah,
Prosthetics are using mobile technology. That's where, the bit that's cut off, if it still has the muscle.
yeah,
So they've actually used, like your phone screen, they've used that technology on the inside of the prosthetic. So and actually the person can move their fingers, because if the muscle's still there where they've cut it off, they can actually still send the signals down, and the thing can read it. And
yeah,
films like The Terminator, Frankenstein,
yeah,
you name it, that's what makes people go, I wonder. And when you go, I wonder, that's when it might
yeah.
be the exact path.
So look at it. Well, it's in that film. Why can't we do it in real life?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's but someone must have thought of it for it to be in the film. You know, you look at transplants, for instance. I mean, they were looking at transplants back, Frankenstein, for instance, back in the 1930s, and the person who wrote the Frankenstein book, Mary Shelley, and she was looking at it when she wrote the book in the late 1800s, wasn't it?
1892, wasn't it?
And you know, people must have caught on. Oh, well, how did she come up with that idea? And why can't we do it? And of course, 100 odd years later, they are doing it in real life. You know,
1818, sorry, that was even earlier.
yeah, all right, yeah.
Yeah, but it takes that, and that's just having a crazy idea. You know yourself when you're writing or you're thinking of something. Okay, I've got an idea. It sounds ridiculous, so how do I boil it down?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's what you do. You just think, and you have no facts, and then you might try to research something to get it to fit, to ground the idea.
yeah,
And we've talked about the mist in the mountain.
yeah,
You researched paramedics, you spoke to people, is this the right procedure? When you do your police stuff, you're
yeah.
not just going flipping
It's,
Keystone Cops. You're going,
no,
okay, I've got this idea. I want them to do this, but how does this fit into a normal procedure? And then you fit it in, and
yeah.
it gives that tangibility, reality, and then people go, wow, yes, can somebody be a serial killer, and how would they get away with it? And then actually, it mightn't help serial killers, but it might help detectives all of a sudden. Hold on, what if somebody's doing that here? Boom, the start looking for signs.
In my new book, the character, he kills his first victim. He hits him over the head with a box of Weetabix, and then his second victim, he hits him over the head with a box of cornflakes. He's a serial killer.
You had me reeled in there for a second, you bastard. I'm like, oh god, I know where this is going. Oh dear.
Yeah, here we go. I had to fit one joke in. It has been 50 minutes,
Yeah, God, we'll have to, Yeah, this film, suppose this film's pretty straightforward. It's Stein, that's what he's known as. He's no intention of keeping a low profile because we've already seen from the first one the character Victor Frankenstein he's got too much of an ego.
Yeah,
He's too much of a narcissist to hide in the shadows. Of course he can't help himself.
yeah. And it's like when that what's he called? The one
Hans?
the doctor that helps him. Hans, yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Hans Cleve. When he goes in and says, "I know who you are," he doesn't deny it. He goes, "What do you want?" "Oh, I want medical knowledge." "Welcome."
Yeah.
He sort of weighed him up, didn't he? And thought, "Am I going to risk it here?" And he thought, "Well, I'm Frankenstein. I don't bloody care. You want to work with me? Work with me. If you don't,
Yeah. And right up to the end, people starting to twig on.
Mm.
He's like, I've got plans. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we'll get the story of Carl because I think that was an interesting track on it as well. It goes, where are you going to get the brain? Well, I've got a volunteer, and that was a completely different track from last time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's where he explains how he got away from the execution.
Because all Carl really wanted was the hunchback gone, wasn't
it? And his use of his hand again.
Use of his hand, yeah. But he suddenly became. I thought it was quite funny how suddenly he went from lying there dying on the, not dying, but he was on the bed, wasn't he? And he just had the operation. Suddenly, yeah, I'm gonna get up and I've got to go out this window here. I thought,
yeah,
like.
But this is once again, this is Frankenstein's ego because he obviously doesn't understand palliative care. It's just another exhibit. He's done it, and he's already got the next one lined up, which was say he doesn't care. It's just a product, not a person.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, that's even if he couldn't do it himself, at least have someone in to look after him emotionally.
Yeah.
But that it just shows what a narcissist Frankenstein is because that didn't even equate to him.
No.
and that then they're becoming his undoing.
Of course, Cole's got a bit of a thing for that woman, then, isn't he? So
Margaret Conrad, you knew that was going from day one.
yeah,
The minute she appeared, you're like, here we go.
yeah. But yeah, and that of course that guy. What was the name of that? He was just known as Richard Wordsworth. You know, the guy who was like the handyman type of person who let the girl.
Oh, I'm trying to think what type of character he was, like out of or what do you call him, Mary Poppins?
Yeah,
Dick Van Dyke's character.
Yeah. I mean,
He had a bit of that about him.
Bit creepy, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah, bit of a horror version of that, but
yeah, he was just sort
like
of
a white
guy
boy.
you wouldn't trust around your daughter, sort of.
No, you wouldn't trust him in a dark alley. You know, I mean, even locking up at the end of the night, you wouldn't trust him in case he'd stick one in you to, steal your last gold coin or something,
Yeah.
But even the poor hospital, it was funny because they're all bitching about Frankenstein the minute he comes in. They all
Yeah.
terrified of the man.
Yeah.
It's like they're having a jolly old time, really.
Yeah. I suppose they were happy to be sort of free medical care, wasn't it? Back in
More sort of a bet, and the fact that, what was it, Margaret would come in.
Yeah.
Oh, I brought in some bags of tobacco. You're like,
what?
eh?
I want to go in there.
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, or a book, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Writing paper.
Yeah, writing paper or tobacco.
How many of those do you think could bloody write? He was chopping off their arms, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the way the guy just went so meekly too. Oh, that has to come off. No? Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. But yeah, we'll see Carl. He goes to Margaret for help. So it wasn't the same as getting obsessed and kidnapping. No, he goes to help. The bit where he opens up the furnace as well to burn his own body, because Frankenstein kept the old body to show everybody, and blood in it. But the fact he opened that up without even having gloves on.
There was a backdraft, wasn't there? The flames were coming out and it didn't even burn his eyebrows.
Yeah, God, that would have been. But
he got this body in there, no problem. He would have had to lift it because he put it in like head first.
Just hoofed it in.
Surely he would have got burnt in some way getting it in because his flames was piling out in there.
Yeah, these are scenes that I think I need to plan a bit more. But once again, this is where filmmaking had to evolve. So, like the fight scene as well. Oh my God. I'm so glad they got fight choreography became a thing.
Yeah.
Because it just looks so ridiculous.
Yeah. When all the patients turned on Frankenstein, it was like, I mean, they could have absolutely mutilated and killed him, but the way they were putting in the kicking, it was like they would have done that better these days. Kick him in the head and
they made it look better. Stunt people. I think I've had worse kickings in school. For real, than what that looked like.
Oh yeah.
But things that got there, obviously, we know this is still the early days of cinema, so that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to, the fact that we're trying to do this kind of shows that it's evolving as well, instead of just people standing in it. I mean, we're stepping away from the stage play where Quatermass was still stuck in that.
It's like I said to you, minutes ago. I think they were trying to push the limits, and without actually getting the thought of you can't show this because it's too violent or too bloody, and they were gradually saying, "Shall we do this? Shall we? Let's put this little bit in." Into, I think if they had a violent scene involving someone actually being kicked and punched and mutilated to death, because it wasn't actually a fictional thing. Like, the monster being made was a fictional thing, whereas someone being beaten, etc., could happen. And I think they were pushing the limits to see how far they could go.
Yeah, and back in the day, this would have been groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, you could see these being a thrill, an event for people to go and watch. And yeah, and the thing is, they're still watchable now. That's the thing. It's not like we look at this and go, oh, that's awful, because the character acting really trumps anything else. So yeah, we can sort of go, yeah, the effects weren't great there. Yeah, could have done a bit more, but we'll forgive it because we're enjoying the characters.
They used to, yeah, they in the cinemas, didn't they? In the adult films, they used to sort of give sort of previews. I mean, they do it now, but the tagline for this one, which would have been shown in cinemas when they say Frankenstein's coming back, the terror rises again. So you can just imagine it being shown. I don't know. Perhaps they had it in one the same year, Quatermass or whatever, saying it's coming. The terror rises again, So yeah, I liked this one. I thought for a sequel, it was you knew the story, but it was original in a way
Yeah,
that
it did feel like a continuation because it's the same doctor. He's trying to, it's the
yeah,
same experiment, but he's taking it to the next level, and you see progression.
yeah,
But the downfall is Frankenstein himself, because of his personality, that's what gets in his way.
yeah,
And his arrogance and his narcissism is, and we saw it in the first one too. The
yeah,
man's his own worst enemy,
yeah,
and everybody around him's disposable.
mm,
So you can't really have any loyalty to him.
yeah,
And as much that story is as important as the monster. The monster is just a byproduct.
yeah.
So you don't have to focus on the monster.
He said, even at the end, wasn't it? He says to the other doctor, "You know what to do,"
Mhm.
and yeah, transplant the brain. But yeah,
Yeah, and that was the thing as well. Even Carl's death in this, he wasn't on a rampage, or he wasn't going around killing people. It's a completely different character.
yeah,
So it was shown. No, I mean, he didn't just become a shambling monster. Yeah, he started to devolve back into his own state.
yeah,
He started not, but that was purely psychological.
yeah. But
And maybe
you wouldn't have thought if you looked at him, whereas you looked at Christopher Lee and saw a monster, you wouldn't have actually thought in the same way by looking at Carl in his new body. You wouldn't have said, "Oh, it's a monster."
no, that was the thing, and that was
Yeah,
good to show the progression. He's getting better at his craft,
yeah,
but it's his horrible personalities was always going to be his downfall.
mm,
Because if he had have actually spent some time and humanized, saw Carl as a human,
mm,
it would have been a completely different result.
yeah,
And spoke to him and had, no, even have the likes of Margaret come in and read to him, tell him a lie about his circumstance, say he was in a coma or something,
yeah,
and he's just trying to bring him back to the world again. You would have had a completely different character. But then Margaret spent one basically one session. He already knew who she was, but coming in and speak to him, he's the one he ran to for help. When he
mm,
crashed the party, he wasn't coming in to kill anybody. He was coming in to get help.
mm.
And then did he just collapse, or was he shot?
I don't know.
I think he just collapsed.
It just collapsed.
He
Yeah, I
saw
think.
Frankenstein. He went to go for him. Then he fell over. He just collapsed.
Yeah, yeah,
But the fact that Carl saw that he had already had another body prepared, he's gone again. And then even in death, Frankenstein doesn't care. But it's funny at the very end. What did he just transplant the whole head this time?
Yeah, because he turned out it was Christopher Lee, wasn't it? Not
No, it's
Christopher.
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Yeah, it's I've got the names mixed up.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he sort of sat up, didn't he? And it was Peter Cushing, and you think, was it the head? Was it the face? Was it what actually what happened here? Yeah.
yeah, but then I think they were playing with the idea because when we see Carl, his whole face changing, it's almost like the body reverts back to what the brain thinks it is.
Yeah.
And because Frankenstein, once again, is so self assured and narcissistic that, of course, he's going to mold the new face back into his own.
Mm.
It could be that, it could be playing with that sort of idea.
It'll be good to see how the continuity goes on to the next one, the next Frankenstein. What's the next? Curse of Frankenstein?
God, not for The Evil of Frankenstein,
Evil of Frankenstein,
which isn't until 1964.
Right. Be strange to see how the continuity goes on that one, because he was in London at the end of the film, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he moved to London and
So
France.
yeah. Be strange to see how it goes. I can't remember I mean, I've probably seen it. I remember seeing.
I know for a fact I've seen all these, but once again, there's a difference between just watching something and then coming back with the reviewers head on.
It's like I said, a lot of these films I saw when I was sort of a kid, and my mum used to let me stay up on a Saturday night to watch them on BBC Two, and I've probably seen it until I watch it again. I think, oh yeah, I've seen this one. I can't remember. I remember seeing this one before, and I remember seeing the previous Frankenstein before, and of course all the Draculas I've seen.
Oh, absolutely. Talking of which, next up we've got The Mummy, so we'll get to see Christopher Lee in some rather dodgy makeup.
Yeah, have you seen the sequel to The Mummy, The Daddy?
We meant The Mummy Returns, and The Mummy Returns is the actual one. No, The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Yeah, that's another thing as well. There's like quite a few years in between these sequels.
Yeah.
So they didn't just go, oh, I've got an idea, let's rip the backside out of it.
Like they would these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Chris on. Good to see
Hello,
you,
Chris.
We're worried about you. It doesn't seem like a complete stream.
You like my house, Chris, do you?
That's the second house. That's the one out in the shed. Out the garden, not the garden house. But yeah, next up we've got The Mummy, 1959. And I actually like these movies.
Yeah.
Or was it Yeah, I've seen this one before. I think I've reviewed this one before. It was one of the lost streams from way back to the start. Cameron and I did it and it got destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh god, that was bad days when we first started this podcast. Fucking nothing was playing right whatsoever. YouTube would stream and then wouldn't save the stream.
Oh, yeah.
And then would do a 2-hour stream and then about 19 minutes would be saved.
Oh, right.
That's weird, but thankfully got that sorted
out. Facebook had a go at me again because do you remember I said on the I put a thing on the Garrow Hub saying that I'm writing the sequel to The Mist on the Mountain. It's going to be called The Fire on There. And I want victims to be killed and things like this. They actually said it went against their community standards to say that I was going to kill someone.
Did you not just reply and say fuck off?
Oh, I appealed and put, it's a book, and I'm asking for volunteers to, and people who want to be in a character in a book, as including a few that actually want to come to a grisly end in the book, and then they let
it's
me
called back. Fun, you arseholes. Get over yourselves.
Because I said I was going to kill someone. That's what I do. I kill.
But it's
people.
done by bot. That's the thing. if there was an actual flesh and blood human being, not a Southern Californian, I mean an actual person reading that, they would get the context. But because they use bots and algorithms just to pick, they're just looking for the words, and then it's wrong, and you're like, fuck away off.
He wants to kill people.
Drives me nuts. But that once again, there's something that's bringing people together.
Yeah.
In sense of community, sense of being involved. And because of stupidity, right, so somebody will not, what'll happen is somebody will not put out, I know you don't care, you'll just leave your head anyway.
Yeah.
But other people would actually take that literally and think they're in trouble and then just not ask for people. And then there's something lost.
Yeah.
And that's my argument about art being destroyed by these absolute morons.
Yeah.
It does annoy me.
It's actually been quite a social experiment as well, asking on the Garrett Hub for people who want to be included in the book, because I've actually made some good friends by including people in the book. If you take the two ladies that were killed in
the dog walkers,
we're friends. In fact, one of them said, "Oh, come down for a gin tasting." But that's been put on hold because one of her dogs actually passed away.
Oh dear.
She got two great big Newfoundlands, and one of them got a heart and lung condition. And
plus, the big dogs don't live as long either. That's a shit,
He was 6, I think she said.
Yeah, they're lucky they make it. Like Great Danes and Irish Wolfhounds are lucky if they make it to 8 years old.
Yeah, but it's such a shame. He's a lovely dog. But anyway, it was a bit of a social experiment, like I said, because they're good friends, and the two people who were in the first book, Carly and her husband, I see them all the time, and they're dog walkers as well, and we have a good yap. And
are you saying that horror brings people together?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that everything it gets accused of actually does the opposite. That people actually get along better, and even if you're not a horror fan, but the idea and the danger of it, and the fun. There is a fun to horror, and the escapism.
Yeah,
brings people together, and even if you never knew each other before, all of a sudden you have something in common.
The PCSO up around here, because I said, the main character is the killer is a police officer. She actually bought a copy, took it down to her boss in Bridgend Station. So the book's currently going around the police down there.
Tight bastards, not buy a copy each.
Oh no, they won't. Well, I don't know if they have.
Skinflint.
But yeah, she said, "Oh, brilliant book." She says, "I'm taking it down the station." And I says, "Oh, so which sergeant was it that done the murders down there?"
Yeah, but that's remember back in the day, people used to have community and actually talk to each other. That's why I hate living where I'm living. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah,
because it's horrible.
It's terrible in its city life.
I'm not even proper in the city. If I was proper in the city, I wouldn't be here anymore. I'd be swinging from something.
Yeah.
But even where I am, it's still it's not as bad exactly where I live, in terms of neighbours and stuff. Yeah. But in terms of local community or finding people's interests, it's shit. And I do miss that. I really do. It freaking gets you down sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's one thing about horror as well, that people enjoy it. And I don't know where this stigma came from, because bloody 1958, it was top class cinema.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Good act. Like let's be honest, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing could have been in any movie. In fact, Christopher Lee, Man with the Golden Gun, loads of movies around Peter Cushing the same, but they stayed within the horror.
They
for most of their career because they enjoyed it.
They would have been, in this day and age, it would have been classed as the sort of, the top paid actors, wouldn't they?
A-listers.
Everyone would have been after them.
Well, right to the last minute. I think it was only because
Lord of the Rings, Christopher Lee, they wanted him.
I watched a snippet. Peter Jackson was saying they had Christopher Lee in mind for Saruman.
Yeah.
But Christopher Lee actually wanted to play Gandalf, and he auditioned for the Gandalf part during the conversation. And he said it's the most awkward thing. Is like, yes, he could do Gandalf, but I would have nobody for Saruman because I could picture nobody else, even
Yeah.
remotely in that role.
It's the evil Christopher Lee, isn't it? He
Yeah,
played.
and he's like, yeah, I could, but I'd have nobody for Saruman because there's nobody can be you
Yeah.
in that role. And that was Christopher Lee was actually disappointed because he wanted to play Gandalf. But even
But
they were in awe of him. And did you read about the stabbing scene?
no.
So when Wormtongue stabs him in the back, Peter
Yeah.
Jackson is telling him, "Oh, I want you to go, ah," and Christopher, you know, people don't make that sound when you stab them. It's a, because and he goes into great detail, and obviously because of his background in World War II, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, he actually knows what he's talking about." Oh shit, yes, Sir Christopher, whatever you say.
Yeah.
And he was never an ego about it. He was just, that wouldn't be right because,
But it's as well. It's characterization, because whatever different part Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing are in, they take their own characterization to the part.
Yep.
But actors these days, they play the same characterization in whatever. Jack Black is an example.
He's not really an actor though. Although, in fairness, the only performance, once again, back to Peter Jackson, the only person who's ever got any sort of acting performance out of him was Peter Jackson for King Kong. That's the only time Jack Black actually tried to be a character.
Yeah, I didn't even like
Didn't say it was great.
No.
But he still got, that's the best performance Jack Black's ever given.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
But he's just one example, and
Actually, what's his face? Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, all the flipping superhero actors, they all play exactly the same.
Yeah.
Friggin' that Muppet, Samuel L. Jackson, only comes on and plays Samuel L. Jackson. He can't do anything else.
No.
What's his face? Ryan Reynolds is exactly the same. But the only time he tried to play, an actual character was the Amityville horror remake.
Yeah.
That's the only. He starts off himself, but then as he devolves, he actually plays a character.
Yeah.
It's the only time I've seen him actually stretch himself.
I didn't like that one either.
No, but what I'm saying is, I take the only examples are through horror again, where people will actually stretch themselves.
Yeah. But if you take Peter Cushing in this, he actually comes across as a mad doctor, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
He comes across as someone who you look at and think he's sane, but then when he starts to act it out, he's the nutty. But if you put him on the Dracula side, he's a vampire hunter, and he plays a totally different characterization as a vampire hunter.
Yep. In the Amicus films, he played about three or four different roles.
Yeah.
Completely.
The antique shop. He played the guy in who was selling like the antiques perfectly. He was an antique seller, who
that's one of my favorite roles, actually.
Had an alternative bit to it.
He's playing the narrator as well. Like we said, the Vault of Horror. If he had been the barman, if they had put Peter Cushing in as the barman for the Vault of Horror, that movie would have been so different.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wouldn't have been as jarring.
Yeah.
If he had been there, come in, gentlemen, and then spoke to them rather than just speaking to each other.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would have completely changed the tone of that movie. That'd been brilliant. But like I said, they're a league apart. They're just heads and shoulders above everyone else that even thinks about acting.
This, I think it's good on these Hammer horrors and Frankenstein. He's done a very good job. Is the director, Terence Fisher. It's a shame we haven't got directors like him these days, because I think they're very, 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 very few and far between. You've obviously got a director who's well respected by the horror genre, and you could just see it back then. Them going, we've got a horror film. we want Terence Fisher, we want him to do it. And what if he couldn't do it? What if he? There must be one or two that he hasn't been able to do. I don't know of at the moment, but Hammer obviously wanted him each time to be there to direct. So this is what makes me think.
But I think that's why you have a level of consistency across these movies. They're all different stories, but because you've got a director's vision as well, that's why you can instantly recognize a Hammer horror movie.
This is where I think, that these Hammer horror films, even though we haven't got any financial aspects, this is where I think they were a success. Because just say this one was a bombed at the box office, they wouldn't have said, we want Terence Fisher back for the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It just wouldn't have happened. In this,
but do you think of the legacy of these? How many times have these been, bought by TV for reruns and DVD releases and that? You can't buy the entire collection, right? Let's compare to the Universal Monsters. You can buy all the Universal Monster movies for like 120 quid or something on Blu-ray. You're not paying that for these. These still have value. You'd be paying up to $1,000 if you were trying to get all these movies on physical copy.
Yeah.
There's no cheapy, here's all the Hammer horror movies. You'll buy 3 of them for 15 quid if you're lucky, second hand.
Yeah.
But you're paying premium price for these movies still because people are prepared to pay premium price.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're not on the streaming services. You have to rent these, most of them you have to rent.
And they are still premium price to rent, and not.
Yeah, they're not in the discount aisle.
No, you won't get them on the sort of 99p special offer ones.
No, you're paying the full $3.49.
Yeah. So
So these still that's testament enough. The fact that these still have a resale value, never mind the original value at the box office. These are gold.
Yeah.
But you never get the likes again. You'll never get another Hammer horror.
No.
You not get that now. It's all cheap. It's corporatized.
Yeah.
Because even though it's a franchise, you don't feel like it's one.
But it's the horror these days is just trying to get the shock value.
But you only do that so often.
Who can give you the biggest killing? The most horrific killing. A bit like Mist on the Mountain.
Authors, eh?
Yeah.
You need the bits in between. You need the drama. You need the dread.
Yeah.
It's the same as like Cameron and I yesterday we were covering a slasher.
Yeah.
It's an hour into it. You get the first kill. Not the first. You don't get the first kill. You see the monster at the very start, Victor Crowley, because it continues on from the last one. Shows Mary Beth escaping. You do not see him again until an hour into the movie. The rest of the movie is dealing with the aftermath and people getting the posse together and the characters, but you do not see another kill for an hour into that movie, and it's only an hour and a half long. Because the rest of the time spent in actually characters.
Yeah.
And then when it's go time, you get all the you get all the ridiculous over the top kills, almost cartoon violence.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because you're invested, so you're on board with the story.
Yeah.
And that's what these do. Like you can tell it's a Hammer horror movie, but you're not getting a repeat. You're not getting the same thing churned out again. These are all unique stories.
Yeah. I was telling Cole the other day because we sat down and there was nothing on, so we just come across Rambo, Last Blood, the very last.
First Blood.
No, the last one.
Oh God, that was terrible.
Yeah, but we watched.
Oh my God, that was awful.
I was trying to tell. I told Cole about how when Rambo 2 came out, everyone was up in arms on the BBC FC when it, about how many people he killed. Didn't he kill about 21 people or something like that?
With his machine gun that never ran out of rounds and stuff.
They were, oh my God, he's killed like all these people. And this day it would be nothing. you know. But yeah, it wasn't a very good film. But um,
No, it was
hey ho, it was something to watch.
yeah. Well, the original, the first three at least had a bit of a story behind them, and there was a theme,
Yeah,
you know. But
mm,
after that, yeah.
yeah,
But that's unfortunately what we've got. But at least the good thing is with these, we can look back and cherry pick any of the new stuff. Like there's more material. We can go back into the vault and we can, and as we're doing the classic horror, there's
yeah,
more material here than we can cover. And like we'll be what, a year doing this
yeah.
alone. I mean, this is the rest of the year. Basically, every 2 weeks, we're here for a good chunk of time just doing
That's
these.
right.
But that's not even the tip of the iceberg in terms of classic horror
No, no.
and the movies that we can look at. So
It's it,
and still enjoy.
it's also something that you've um, it set standards. This set standards for horror,
Mhm.
and it's something you have to look at and review, in order to get the perspective on stuff that's coming out in this day and age. Um, it's this set the sort of standards and
Yep.
opened up the goalpost for future horror, I believe.
So here is the minimum you have to achieve,
Yeah,
considering I didn't have the technology that we do today.
yeah.
So why, with the technology we have, are you making shittier movies?
Crap.
What's missing?
Yeah,
And you're paying actors, and you're not. It's not a case of money in terms of paying actors because you're paying actors stupid amounts of money now, and you're getting a worse product. You're paying VFX's houses stupid amounts of money, and you're getting a worse product.
yeah,
Where are you going wrong? You're paying writers stupid amounts of money, and you're getting a terrible product. Where are you
yeah.
going wrong?
Terrible scripts and dialogue that's a 5-year-old could write really.
Oh God, some of
Yeah,
that. What was I reviewing? Or something. The dialogue was just shockingly bad. I mean, it hurt.
mm,
Oh, Final Destination. Freaking dialogue and that was atrocious. That
yeah,
was that was 2000.
yeah,
It hasn't got better. There's some stuff I just and that's the thing. And there's this trope in horror I've noticed with the whole trashy thing that every character has to be a down and out hippie drug user, you know, bordering on the end. What that the Hellraiser one that came out, the
yeah.
remake, that was the same, and you listen to the characters speak, and you just switch off because they're trash.
I've never seen a good remake of if you take The Omen, Psycho, Hellraiser, even Friday the 13th. I've never ever seen a Amityville horror. Um, Halloween, they tried to reboot that, didn't they?
Oh
And
god, the arse that up something shocking.
it's I've never ever seen a good remake. Why don't they just leave if the film's done well in its original state and it becomes like the sort of film that even people watch. I still watch the original Halloween now.
Mm.
And why don't they just leave it alone?
Because they've no ideas, they're lazy. You're talking about I've said this before. Hollywood has become the civil service of the entertainment world.
Yeah,
They think they're entitled to the money. They don't have to earn it, and they deserve their positions. And they've got that point of just apathy. They don't care themselves, and they're just going through the motions. They've no creative spark, and because of the nepotism, they're looking after their own. No new bloods coming in to shake things up,
yeah,
and it's all corporate by the numbers crap. And I've said it. It's coming into horror now. It's coming into horror. I said it 2 years ago. Nobody believed me. It
yeah.
was going to happen. No, and now we're getting it. Shitty remakes and reboots and prequels, and there's nothing exciting this year at all.
Well, I tell you one we did watch, which I thought was very good, was Sting about the spider. Have you
Uh,
seen it?
yeah, I reviewed it. I did it as part of the marathon. It
I,
was
I,
it had
I
potential, but it kind
yeah,
of got in its own way again because they were spending more time bashing the father.
yeah,
I didn't like that. I don't like the Miss Sandry in it because why? So they're spending more time bashing him as a father, trying his best.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was a message in that: don't become a stepfather. You're just nothing but heartache, idiot. Don't do it. That's the message of that movie, because that guy cops nothing but shit from everyone.
But but don't you ask yourself, that does happen quite a lot, you know, from especially from the kids' point of view, because they look at it that he's trying to replace the father, and yeah,
Well, it's not a situation you can win. You know what I mean?
it
I've been there.
happens more than the other way around, where the child initially appreciates them right away.
This was just over the top. You know, it was coming from all directions. The guy, from his wife, from the in-laws, everything, he just couldn't catch a break, and he was doing. You know what I mean? Couldn't do right for wrong. And the fact that even her projects took precedence over him. He had a deadline. Screw you. I need to do this conference call. Look after the baby, but I have a
Yeah,
deadline. Doesn't matter. My needs are come first, and this is the culture today. You know,
yeah,
if it wasn't so, if it was a one-off movie, you could see it, but you've seen it so many times. This is the culture of destroy the man. You know,
yeah,
you're worthless. Piss off. And it's like, I
yeah.
just, I'm burnt
I
out with it. I'm burnt out watching it on screen.
I liked it.
I'm burnt out with the venom. But the movie had
I
potential. Like
think
it's,
I was looking more at the spider,
well,
you know,
Spider was best character in
it's,
this.
yeah, yeah, and even the little girl, who was sort of, you know, the spider was her best friend, sort of thing. I thought she played a good part as
Mm-hmm.
well. But yeah,
But when the weirdo neighbor took it, it just got a bit weird. It just went a bit daft.
yeah,
I would like to have seen her trying to keep it under control till she couldn't, sort of thing.
yeah,
But it kind of jumped, you know, it just accelerated.
yeah.
But
No,
all in all, it wasn't a horrible movie. I've
I
watched
thought
worse.
for I thought, you know, in this day and age when the horror films are coming out to a penny and really rubbish, I thought it was quite original, and I thought it was one to combat the upcoming arachnophobia.
Oh
You
god, I
know,
was still doing that.
yeah, yeah. Well, you've already seen the TV series that are coming out, because I've forwarded them to you, and you know
Oh
the
god.
Conjuring TV series, It TV series.
Oh well, Welcome to Derry. I've seen that, you know, before, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
God, what was the other one? Friday the 13th. They're doing.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, no interest.
We were talking about it today. Who was I talking? Oh, my friend Stuart. Because we both like the original It with Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, yeah, the
Yeah, and we both like that. And we were saying, what again? Why can't they leave it alone? You know, and we thought when it come out with the remake of the Hollywood version of It, yeah, it was okay, but it was really OTT, wasn't it? And
sorry, I did a deep dive. I did a whole thing on the miniseries, the Hollywood one in the book, and
yeah,
compared the three of them. So I did a stream. God, when was that? About a year and a half ago.
yeah.
I broke down all three. I went across, and
I like the
yeah,
book.
yeah, the book's good. The miniseries is closer to the book than the films,
Yeah,
and people completely miss the point that it's told from the future.
yeah,
That's the whole thing kicks it off, and everyone's like, no, because it's the last thing they've seen. It's amazing how people don't remember
yeah,
or don't, and then argue with you when you've just sat and read something with no. The thing gets me about this is I don't come on this with some sort of agenda. If I
no,
like something, I like it. If I don't, I don't, and I'll just say it. And I don't need to be. We can disagree on something, like, and we'll be here next time. We're still friends. You know what I mean? It's this
yeah.
idea of, oh, we disagreed on a movie. That's it. We'll have to fall out and never speak to each other again. That's
Cut
ridiculous.
you off as a friend on Facebook.
Yeah, because people are like that.
Oh yeah, I know.
Here's one. Actually, I mentioned it yesterday as well. Do you remember we did Frankenstein's Army?
Yeah,
Somebody put on the Slash Rap. if you don't like this movie, Frankenstein, because they put the picture up, you is dumb and plus suck SUK. And then he's talking about how it's a Marmite movie and everyone's fighting. No, it's because you're making statements like that. If you like this, or if you don't like this, you're an arsehole, basically.
Yeah.
Fucking think about what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just because you like something, that's why there's different. If we all like the same thing, there'd be one movie, one book, one song, and that's all we'd need.
Yeah.
It's stupid. And I don't come into this with that sort of idea of, I'm going to rile people up, or fucking can't be arsed.
Oh yeah, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's like the film years ago, Platoon. I hated it.
I never liked any of those movies. I was never really a big fan. Just
and,
not my thing.
and a lot of my friends at the time loved it, and I went to the cinema with them to watch it, and I just thought it's not my type of film. And I give the opinion, I didn't enjoy it because it's not my type of film, but you might enjoy it. And they say,
Yeah.
you didn't like it. God, what do you like, sort of thing, and they really, at the time, went hell to leather at me. And I went, well, it's not my sort of film. I've come to see it with you just to be courteous, really. But I remember that because I didn't like Platoon.
Yeah. Well, it's like we were talking at the very start of the stream. We're not going to go on the Mills and Boons fan pages, and I'm sure there are some. And we're not going to go in and go, "Yous are all shit. Yous are horrible because you like this stuff."
Yeah.
Fucking crack on. You know what I mean? If you like something I don't like, crack on and knock yourself out. That's what it's there for. But don't come at me, or don't write me off, or people. Don't do that. That's idiotic. You're just showing yourself as a shitty person.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's the same with films like Frankenstein. I love the old classic horror. There'll be some that say, "Oh no, it's rubbish," and you should go.
You old farts. What are you watching this old shit for? Blah blah
My
blah.
son exactly. He said to me today, "Oh, what's your podcast review?" And I went, "Oh, the Revenge of Frankenstein, 1958." He went, "Oh, that's an old film. Don't you do any new ones?" And I went, "No." I says, "I do all the old ones." I says, "Colin knows I do all the old ones, and a lot of the old ones are better than the new ones."
But it's that attitude of writing things off. It'd be like me never watching a new movie, and if we were of that mind, we'd never watch new movies, so we wouldn't comment on them.
Well, he's coming up on Wednesday, so I might make him watch The Mummy. He will watch this 3 times with me while you're up.
Is he's tied, Clockwork Orange style, tied to the chair.
Yeah, but that could be a scene in one of my books. I'll tie him to the chair and make him watch.
Make him watch Twilight.
Yeah.
God, no. Don't want the all night with me now. No, but I just don't get the attitude. It's ridiculous. Calm down. But people that want to fight, they want the fight and they want the argument, but they wouldn't have a go at you in the street and they wouldn't step in the ring with you either. It's a cowardly thing.
Yeah.
And all they're trying to do is get a gang together to pick on someone. And I just think it's sad.
I mean, we always come across, we give our opinions. We don't actually say, don't watch it. We say, this is our opinion. This is all the mistakes.
And we've talked about many mistakes in these movies, like even the fight choreography and that, and the overacting. They're not perfect. No. We also understand they're a product of their time, and it was a progression.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why we can still watch these today. And like I said, you try and here's the thing, you go and try buy the Hammer Horror Collection, and you're paying premium price. There's a reason for that. That says it all.
Yeah. And
it's just still resale value.
They even again they made a TV series, didn't they, of Hammer shorts.
It was the Hammer House of Horror. We covered that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
13 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cameron and I covered that way back in the beginning.
Yeah.
They had flipping boobies and all sorts, and bums and naked people, and then people freaked out on TV. It was hilarious. So they all got the last half of the episodes all got censored.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, so there we go. Um,
no, but as always, that was
even
fun.
even the writers, they looking at it, they use Jimmy Sangster, who's um, written quite a few of these Hammer um, horrors. Let's see. Yeah, he's written by Jimmy Sangster. That was North Wales. Yeah, he did Dracula, Curse of Frankenstein, X the Unknown. So he's it's the same writer as
Hmm.
a few of the other Hammer ones. So they're using the same team. You've got the same director, the same writer, and again, it just goes to show that they've got the team together, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and they've got the continuity, so you're not going to get a movie pop in here that's wildly different.
No, no,
And there's a comfort in that. You know what you're going to get with a Hammer movie, but yet each story is its own story.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
once again, why can't you just do that today?
yeah. Well,
We shall
we
see.
need some originality in Hollywood,
Yep.
and you're not gonna get it anytime soon, are you?
No, but our way forward is independent creators. We
Yeah,
just need to get, they need to understand too as well.
you,
Just
you
because you're
need
independent, you need to bring your best game.
you need someone to take a look at um, the wider picture and go that there are authors and storytellers out there that write better stuff than the rubbish that's being made,
Hmm.
and you know, yeah,
Like I said, I try and anytime I come across an independent creator, I try and champion them on the podcast
yeah,
because I do believe it's a way forward. Step away. Hollywood's dead.
yeah,
Hollywood is the fast food factory,
yeah.
and what we need to do is set up something different. And that means if we all chip in a bit.
I personally think that the era of Hollywood movies to come to the cinema is gradually going to go out. It might not be in my lifetime, but because of the streaming companies like Amazon Prime and Netflix are making their own movies.
But they're tanking as well. They're not making money.
Amazon now own Metro Goldwyn Mayer.
They'll have
Um,
them for a while. It's
yeah, and I think it's especially with the technology, cinemas are gonna die, and it's all
well,
gonna
I would say the big chain ones are, but there's a chance once again with change there's opportunity,
yeah,
and I would like to see. Maybe it might be only a city thing where there's enough people, but make events. Reach out to your local cinema chain. If you're an independent creator and you know other creators, film directors, have events, have many, not so much the festivals, but have many events for your shows. Where you have conventions,
yeah,
hold a convention in a bloody cinema. There's bound to be enough room, a way to do it.
yeah,
There's one back in Belfast. I don't know if it's still open, but there was one called the Strand, and what they had done was they actually used the stage because they're originally theaters and repurposed, but they would have events. It
yeah,
wasn't just the film being shown. So, is there a way to use the foyers, to use different levels, to have tables, conventions, and then have a film showing as well? There's got to be a way to, but people need to have that bit of ounce about them.
mm,
I just don't have the energy to be reaching out to people because I get frustrated because I've tried this stuff before, holding events and that, and it just drains me
yeah,
because then you're doing something. There's always some dickhead they want to latch on and take over from what you're doing and make it all about them, and I
mm,
can't be bothered with that anymore.
no,
I've done loads of events, and that's always the case, and I just tired, burnt out. So it's not going to be me, but I know the principle. You reach out to an independent cinema chain, right? You think, what can you use that space for? How
mm,
can you get people together? And that includes going to watch movies, make them independent ones, have stands, have tables there, people selling their books, make it a theme, make it horror. And it doesn't have to be like the NEC or the big, huge conference. It doesn't have to be that size. It just has to be scaled down. But what you need to do is have enough of those happening in a year.
Yeah.
Becomes a thing that people want to go there.
Yeah.
It is possible. You just gotta.
I mean, there are people out there that support, lesser known projects, because you see them on a lot of people do these GoFundMe to make a
Well, I
movie.
support. In fact, I'm feel bad because I'm a finance at the moment. I couldn't support the latest Star one, but I like supporting their stuff.
Yeah.
Because we've got good friends. 7th Street as well. If I can buy one of their, except they don't show in the UK because their distributors are stuff. But if I can support a 7th Street one as well, I like the support. If I can get your books, I'll do that too. It's I sort of, because of this podcast and relationships, I like to support who I can.
Yeah.
I've loads of books from people, that have been on the show just purely because they've been on it and went and bought their book because I want to support them. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
And it's no more expensive than going down and buying flipping expensive cup of coffee from chain store that doesn't give a toss about you.
Yeah.
You're paying, you're paying the same sort of money, so why not?
£5 for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, so flip's sake, that buys you a book or rents a movie or, chucks into a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
It's easy to do. God, this is turning into a completely different stream.
It is, yeah.
We finished talking about the movie half an hour ago and we've just went into one.
Well, as far as the movie's concerned, probably I'm not biased. I love Hammer horror. I love all the old films anyway. This one's going to be no different. It's a brilliant movie, and
has its issues, but at the same time they're negligible compared to the quality of the movie.
Whereas I usually pick out all the mistakes from all the newer ones. It's 1958. There's going to be a few mistakes, and I ain't even going to bother mentioning them. A lot of them are trivial. The girl wearing a pair of high-heeled shoes that weren't around until 1960 something. But it's you just it's just an enjoyable film. And I think, if it was made in this day and age and with the same type of thing, if they had a cinema showing of, a couple of Hammer horror Frankenstein films, it would be well attended by all the old school people like me. That's what they should do. They should get rid of all the crap at the cinema and start showing old ones again. ABC Cinema in Plymouth used to do that. They used to have once a month. They used to have the I think it was a Tuesday afternoon, and they used to show an old film. But it used to be any genre. You could have like a horror film one week, and then you'd have a lovey-dovey film the following week, and then a drama, and then an action. But they always used to be like and they always well attended. I actually went to see The Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man, on a Tuesday afternoon, and the place was packed solid. And they only used to charge whereas it would cost you, £7-8 to get into a normal show, and they used to charge £3.
Why not? There's also a solution, but it's up to people to want this. So it's okay complaining about things.
Yeah.
But complaining isn't going to change anything.
No.
Got to come up with solutions, and now's the time to do it. Because there's investors that are worried about Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because they see it's a losing game. And I'm not talking about the big, I'm not talking about the BlackRocks and Vanguard types. They're just wanting to take over the world. But smaller investors who would have normally maybe chucked into a Hollywood movie aren't now because they don't see the return.
No.
So you have a chance, if you've got a bit of savvy about you, and I think it's the filmmakers are more about that than authors. filmmakers have got that, bit about them where they can talk to people. But like here in the UK, I actually see folks, like I said, some of the folks I've talked to in America are up for it. They're not afraid to talk to people. Over here, there's a reticence about getting together. It's very strange. We need to get away from that as well, because these are British products at the end of the day, and they really are the mainstay of cinema, and they really did set a standard.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why we can't go back to that. And it's not about arrogance or ego. It's just about remembering what we're worth and we can do it, and we've just as much right to try as anywhere else, and talk to each other and get things together and stop bloody fighting and bickering.
Yeah.
Stop this. I hate this. What do they call it? Black pill, red pill, green pill, fucking yellow pill. Oh, the world's coming in. Oh, everything's terrible. What frigging attitude's that to have in life? It's gonna break you.
Yeah.
Miserable, downtrodden. Fucking get up out of. Yes, the world's shit. The world's always gonna be shit. It's gonna be just different types. But if you're going through life like that, then friggin' you're the problem.
Yeah.
And if you see somebody trying to inject a bit of positivity, fucking embrace it and stop wallowing in misery. It winds me up.
If you think of films like this, they're remaking classics. Like we said, the Psycho, Halloween. The originals were successes, so surely they must realise that the writers of these successes from back as far as 1958, they had the thing for doing a successful movie, whereas people these days haven't got the formula right for a successful movie, because a lot of them are losing millions and millions of dollars and pounds,
Stupid amounts, yeah.
Yet films back in 1958 that set the basis and were making money. Why? Because they had the correct team. We have already seen the same team done this one as done Dracula, and it was the same director. You never had your Spielbergs and your M. Night Shyamalan.
Shiny ones, yeah.
He makes shit movies. Sorry, you don't. If you're watching the Shyamalan.
I couldn't even watch that last one. I saw the trailer part.
Brilliant movies. I love every single one of them.
The fact that today we have Jordan Peele scholars just makes me cringe.
Yeah.
What a joke. That's how much of a joke the world is. But that's fair enough. But it's up to people. It'll never change unless you change it. We all have a wee bit to do. I'm trying my best. We can all chip in and just, in our own way, build something different.
You're paying the money to go to the cinema to watch this rubbish. Don't pay the money.
Yeah.
Don't go. It's crap. It's, They
won't learn otherwise, but find something worthy. There's plenty of people out there wanting, creating. Get behind them. That's it, But there you go. That was interesting. That became a bit of a philosophical debate.
That was a
state of cinema, but it's
have a go at Hollywood session, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they deserve it. But solutions have been offered as well, so it's not just
see this. Right there. Where have I gone? See that? Yesterday, the bloke next door borrowed it, that side of me, and the day before, the bloke that side of me borrowed it. I thought, must be the neighbourhood watch.
Oh, dearie me. And on that happy note. Well, Steve, thanks as always, mate. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Even though hardly any of you ever talk, I see yous, but yous never comment. Say hello, we will say hello back, and you'll get another terrible joke for it. But until next time, keep updating the channel, do the type of clicky things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.
Boys.